So in the LCM program, there are a few functional exercises that must be emphasized, and we have to meet at least a level of competency, I would say a moderate to advanced level of these exercises before we move on to more advanced exercises. A lot of these are body weight movement exercises that will benefit and amplify results from later more advanced exercises, prevent injury once we've mastered them. I'm going to go over these foundational exercises with you just so that you get an idea of what exercises need to be mastered for functional fitness. They also translate later into tactical fitness, but we're just going to talk about the functional fitness aspect. So let's go through the exercises first, and then I'll explain the reasoning. So we got squats, lunges, step-ups, deadlifts, push-ups, overhead presses, pull-ups or chin-ups, rows, Russian twists, pelvic presses, farmer's carries, and sandbag carries or odd object carries, planks and side planks, and that's pretty much the main. So these are push-pull squats, hinge, carry, and rotational patterns that we use actually in most of our daily lives. So let's go over quickly how they apply. So once we mastered all of these, we'd be more efficient in our daily life and in tactical situations, which will require a higher level of competency of these exercises. But for daily life, if you're sufficiently competent at these exercises, life will, in terms of physical aspects, will be a breeze, prevent injuries, allow for more activity in your life. All right, so let's go with squats. Squats, anytime you're bending down from the knees and getting up, you're doing a squat, right? And this is obviously something that we do quite often every day. It could be picking up something off the floor. It could be standing up from a chair. That's a squat. Lunges is another one. This is unilateral, so it's strength when we're walking forward or backwards with a heavy object. So the more proficient we are at this, the more easier it is to, let's say, carry groceries across a parking lot. A heavy object when we're moving furniture, into a moving van or whatever. Okay. So then we got step ups. Same kind of idea, except this is moving upwards. It's unilateral, single leg strength. Moving up, let's say, a set of stairs. You're carrying something up a set of stairs. That's also an important aspect that we need to develop. Deadlifts. Taking anything from the ground up or from a lower position up. So that means picking up groceries, lifting up a heavy box, or again, lifting up furniture is a deadlift movement. The stronger we are at that, the easier it becomes to do things similar to that action. Push-ups. I love push-ups. That's one of my favorites. But it's not as practical. I just really enjoy push-ups. But we're not always pushing against something. But if you're pushing against a heavy door, pushing against a heavy object, the push-ups is a foundational movement. If your car gets stuck, the push-up is going to help with that. The push-ups is actually an excellent place to start because it's actually full body engagement. It engages the core, engages the hips, and then of course the chest and shoulders. So push-ups is one of those ones that we have to master for stability, upper body strength, and pushing power, right? So then there's overhead presses, which is putting something, let's say, on top of a high shelf, right? Sometimes we have to put something heavy up into a higher shelf, right? Depending on occupation or depending on whatever, right? Even playing with your kids, a lot of times you carry them and maybe you carry them up in the air or something like that, right? So something like that requires an overhead press, right? The strength of your overhead press makes it easier to do. Again, the strength of any of these will also help prevent injury when doing these actions. Pull-ups or chin-ups. Anytime you're pulling yourself over a ledge, even a short ledge, does these actions, activates these muscles that are used for pulling yourself over. Or if you're holding onto a ledge to support yourself from, let's say you need to grab onto a ledge and then lean over to reach to put something away, you're going to be using that same strength to do that. by being proficient at pull-ups and chin-ups. Rows would be the same pulling motion, but in front of you, so from front to back. This is pulling open a heavy drawer, rowing a boat, something like that, right? Rowing a boat's not something that everybody does, but, pulling and moving objects is something that we often quite do throughout the day, throughout our lives. So that's also something that would help us do that. Russian twists would be rotating the torso and moving an object. So turning, grabbing something from one side, grabbing something from the back seat, and pulling it to another side. That would be where the strength of a Russian twist would come in handy. The Palov presses is an anti-rotational exercise, and it resists the pull from a certain direction. So this is good for maintaining balance, preventing slips and falls. Next one is the farmer's carries. Again, farmer's carries is carrying heavy objects, say a dumbbell in one hand and the other, and walking it for a duration. This would be a farmer's carry. This would be carrying objects that we've maybe deadlifted off the ground, or heavy objects, carrying groceries. Once we've deadlifted that, we have to move it somewhere, which requires a farmer's carry. So that's an important aspect for us to do. The next is a sandbag carry, or odd object carry. You can practice it. It doesn't have to be a sandbag. You can literally grab a barbecue propane tank, or I don't know, an 80-pound punching bag, and bear hug carry that around. But something that is odd object or sandbag or something just strange, because quite often in everyday life we aren't carrying things that are of normal stature, right? A couch is not perfectly symmetrical when we're moving that. Sometimes we have to move it around a corner and you got to turn it, and it's just a weird shaped object, right? So being able to move these odd objects is also an important aspect that we need to develop. The next is core stability. Core stability is again going to help you maintain stable posture when lifting or carrying an object. So when you're carrying something, you'll also be exposed to possibly losing your balance. Having a strong core and posture is going to help you with that as well. And especially when you're moving things, it's going to prevent injuries like spine injuries, back injuries, and stuff like that. Having a solid core is going to help offset that. Another cool thing about having a strong core is that most of the kinetic energy from movement actually passes through the core. So the stronger your core is, the stronger you will be across other exercises and other movements by having a strong core. So we develop that through planks and side planks. So those are the exercises that we have to develop as the foundational level of fitness to be well-rounded. So you got the lower body, upper body, as well as the rotational and carrying movements and core stability. Having all of these as a base, as at a level of moderate to intermediate or even advanced, or even beyond that, depending on what your occupation is an important place to start before you actually start getting into like more advanced movements. These exercises will improve and amplify your ability to do those advanced movements even more. And even to this day, as I do other exercises, I still do push-ups. So I'm still doing air squats. When I do, actually one of the advanced WODs that I do is Murphy, and what it is, it's squats, pull-ups, and push-ups. So even at advanced levels, advanced athletes are still using these exercises to push themselves. And this is on top of the advanced exercises that they're already doing at a higher level, such as powerlifting and explosive movements. These are the ones that we need to master first before we can move on to mastering other ones. And these ones, again, like I said, they never really end. These foundational movements will always be something that will be a part of your development. All right. So there we go. That's the functional and foundational movements. Go ahead and work on those.